Yeah, on the Netflix documentary.
Over certain points, particularly her actions around the time of the collapses, I think she did become slightly more evasive.
Just prior to the collapse, Lucy, had you any cause to go into nursery one at all?
I don't remember.
Right. Were you working in nursery one?
I don't think I was, but I don't recall which baby I was looking after.
Okay. And you don't remember the process of how you ended up in nursery one with the reasons?
No. She would spend some time thinking about a reply and would almost leave it what felt like a significant amount of time before answering. Are you aware of why you required resuscitation? No, I don't recall the events leading up to that. I just know that he had resuscitation. These answers raise some big questions for us.
On my Substack, under the corrupt court section, essays on the edge, corrupt court section, going down to an old article where I looked at body language of Joram and Gibbs, lies and videotape, and there was a video in here, down here. This one was an old one of Gibbs. Now this was I think it was a Channel 4 interview. Now I'm just going to put a clip of that.
You say that it should have happened earlier. No. Because it did take quite a long period of time before the hospital asked for the police to become involved. Do you think that had consequences?
It made the job more difficult for the police investigating these alleged or suspected episodes of harm, deliberate harm, when they were doing it several years later. And all of us professional witnesses, doctors and nurses, were giving statements several years after the event. Now, we always keep medical and nursing notes, and we could refer to those to remind ourselves what happened at the time. But as for who was doing what when, who was standing where when, who was last with the patient before they collapsed, trying to remember that to give the information to the police as part of their investigation several years after the event was very difficult. And often, for myself, and I believe various colleagues, you had to say, I just can't remember exactly who was doing what at the time.
Over certain points, particularly her actions around the time of the collapses, I think she did become slightly more evasive.
Just prior to the collapse, Lucy, had you any cause to go into nursery one at all?
I don't remember.
Right. Were you working in nursery one?
I don't think I was, but I don't recall which baby I was looking after.
Okay. And you don't remember the process of how you ended up in nursery one with the reasons?
No. She would spend some time thinking about a reply and would almost leave it what felt like a significant amount of time before answering. Are you aware of why you required resuscitation? No, I don't recall the events leading up to that. I just know that he had resuscitation. These answers raise some big questions for us.
The police keep saying, oh, well, she's not consistent. Absolute BS. She was very consistent. She said things like, so originally they were starting off, they were talking about, they were talking about how she answered general questions about, her job as a nurse, which anybody would do. She answered them normally. And then they said, oh, when they went to ask her specifics about babies, she then started to, struggle with answering the questions and struggle with, trying to make out that she wasn't being straight or whatever. Well, because there's a big difference. They started asking her questions about babies that she'd dealt with a couple of years beforehand, or was it 2 or 3 years before? So, one, many people, I can't remember what I did last week, like even yesterday, let alone 2 years ago in detail. So, depending on the situation, but these were not her babies, okay? Her job was to deal with a lot of different babies. She's not going to remember specific details of every single baby all the time that she deals with, okay? So the police reasoning is ridiculous. Lucy answered the questions. So actually, Lucy said a lot of the time when she was answering those questions, she said, I don't remember. Now, that would be the most honest answer that I can think of. I mean, that's what most people would say in that situation. I deal with a lot of babies. How am I supposed to remember what I did 2 years ago exactly? So, she answered the questions very straight. She wasn't... So, like, I've noticed about Lucy, she tends to... When she's asked a question, she tends to look down like that. And then like that. That's when people look down when they're thinking, when they're trying to remember. So they're trying to actually remember. Factually, they're trying to remember something, which is what you do when you're trying to remember what you did to give an honest answer. There was not even that much hesitation. And there was no body language that suggested any dishonesty there. And actually on my article I'm talking about a couple of years ago, I did put a video of an ex-CIA woman who talks about which signs to look for. I'm going to put one of her... This is a CIA former officer who talks about what to look out for in that's worth watching to tell her, the signs that someone's lying or not. Okay, so I didn't see any of those signs in Lucy. I saw only very straight talking and struggling to remember, genuinely struggling to remember certain things. There was, so, I mean, the no comments, perfectly not. I'm surprised she didn't go no comment all the way through. If that had been me, okay, I would have done no comment all the way through. You don't talk to the police, especially in a situation like that. It's never a wise idea to always default with no comment if you're not sure about anything. So I'm surprised she didn't go no comment all the way through. She has every right to. She had a solicitor there. She was probably following his advice on the ones she did go no comment to, and she chose to talk to the police on other stuff. He was a duty solicitor, remember. Lucy didn't have any posh. She only had the duty solicitor. Therefore, she's not going to have the best advice anyway. It certainly doesn't reflect on her, what she says no comment to. It's anything she's saying no comment to is just her being wise. It doesn't mean anything. Because, if you whatever you say to the police, remember, can be used against you at a later date. And you can say, if you've got something wrong, or you've got nervous, or you've panicked, or you said something different to what you say in court, then they can use, oh, well, you said that then, and you said that then. Whereas if you say no comment, it can't be held against you at a later date for misremembering or just mixing up your words or whatever, because they'll try anything, they'll try any trick in the book. I just want to look at some of the body language.
I live with two guilts. Guilt that we let the babies down, and tiny, tiny, tiny guilt did we get the wrong person. There's guilt, just in case miscarriage of justice. I don't think there was a miscarriage of justice, but you worry that no one actually saw her do it.
Right, okay, so a few things there. After he says tiny, tiny, tiny bit of guilt, got the wrong person, then he does that in the nervous laugh. The nervous laugh is a classic sign for not believing what you're saying. You don't believe in what you're saying. So, tiny, tiny, tiny bit of guilt. He doesn't believe he's got a tiny, tiny bit of guilt. And what I would suggest that they got right is that what he really believes is he's got a big, 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 massive bout of guilt. Massive bout of guilt that they've got the wrong person, okay? And secondly, there's a few things here. Why guilt? Why not doubt? I mean, if you're, it would be natural for them to have some doubt. I mean, any decent person would doubt with something like this anyway, because anyone who always thinks they're 100% right about everything is something wrong with you anyway. I mean, we all have doubt. I mean, I've doubted at times about, am I on the wrong side? Is Lucy, did she do it? I've had that. We've all, I mean, I get things wrong, so I will doubt myself, but I've been through enough of that doubt to know I'm very, very sure, 99.999% sure Lucy is a scapegoat. But elements of doubt. Now, he didn't say doubt, did he? He didn't say doubt. He said guilt. Why did he not say we have a doubt? He said guilt. Guilt suggests that you don't feel guilt unless you've done something wrong, do you? You don't feel guilt unless there's something wrong. Or you feel guilt if you're you can feel guilt as a scapegoat, but you still genuinely feel that you've done something.
Did we get the wrong person? There's guilt, just in case miscarriage of justice. I don't think there was a miscarriage of justice, but you worry that no one actually saw her do it.
So did we get the wrong person? He could have left her there, right? There was no need for the qualification, which is what he did next, which was try and sort of make that sound a little bit less like what it is. Did we get the wrong person? Oh no, I need to sort of stop that. Let's stop that. What I just said and say, I don't think there was a miscarriage of justice, or just in case, and all these things, just in case. I don't think it was. That's all qualification. That's all trying to crawl out of what he's just said and trying to make it look less, make it more palatable. Yeah, and he should have left it out. You can just forget everything he said. He's worried that they got the wrong person.
Miscarriage of justice. I don't think there was a miscarriage of justice, but you worry that no one actually saw her do it.
So the nodding, he's going, I don't think there was a miscarriage of justice. The nodding is indicating the opposite. His body language indicates he does think there was, because normally you would go, I don't think there was, not I don't think. So he does probably, I'm saying his body language suggests he does think there was a miscarriage of justice. Then he goes on, and then after that he is in line because he carries on to say, but you worry that nobody actually saw her do it. So he is in line then. He does believe that he is worried that nobody actually saw her do it. Genuine, okay? So that's my take on that body language of Gibbs there. If you're saying something in the affirmative, then you would nod your head and that would be in line with what you're saying. But if you say something in the negative, you're more likely to be going like that with your head. Well, I noticed that he was doing the opposite of what he is going, nodding his head in the affirmative to something he's saying, which is in the negative. So that suggests to me that he's saying the opposite of what he actually thinks, right? And so, you know, the body language thing here, okay, with Gibbs is a problem. Okay, the body language, the laughter, his head not being in line with what he's saying, his use of the word guilt, not saying down, and his use of the word we, you know, that we got the wrong person, Well, hang on a minute. I thought that when someone was going to be charged with murder, the person that gets that person is the police, the CPS, and ultimately the jury decide on guilt. It's not a consultant, pediatrician or doctor, consultant of any kind, or nurse or anything to get people. That's not their job. Their job is to I thought their job was to treat people for illness. I could have this wrong, but I thought doctors were there and consultants were there to treat illness. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it is to get people. Maybe it's to get people and get their colleagues. Maybe that is their job. Okay, so I've got this wrong. But that's what he did say, that we have got the wrong person. So anyway, you know, it seemed the language is why was he trying to get anybody? What was his job? Is that not his job? No. And the rest of them, we all know that the other, because I don't think Gibbs is even the worst one here, is he? I mean, we got, like, as far as I'm concerned, the ones that were really out to get Lucy more than anything seemed to be Brewery and Jira. And ultimately Dowie, who, we know was biased, but it's pretty obvious. Just doing it for the police, for money, or whatever reasons he was doing it for his mates or whatever it is in the little boys club. This whole thing being emotive, okay, so what often they do, like I've noticed with, for instance, once I saw a BBC documentary. This is very typical of the BBC. And there was one on animal testing, and normally you don't see documentaries on vivisection because they don't want to admit to the public that it actually happens. They want you to pretend that it doesn't happen, so they won't put it out there. But they did actually do a documentary once. I remember this is years and years ago, and what they did was they put that there's a scientific argument, a massive scientific argument on both sides of the animal testing lobby. There's for and against, right? But there's science on both sides, right? And and so I used to be an animal rights activist. So I've seen and looked at all the science on the side of, against vivisection sort of thing, against cruelty to animals to benefit humans, because I don't believe it does. And if you look at the science, but this BBC documentary, it put the science argument on one side, which was the pro-animal testing. And then on the other side of the debate, it had to put the other side of the debate, instead of putting the science against animal testing, it put the emotive argument, the bunny huggers, the bunny tree lovers, bunny huggers argument. So that was an emotive argument against the scientific argument. And that's what they called a debate. Well, clearly, and that is what I saw in this this Netflix documentary. It was very much in that style. The Netflix documentary boiled down to, is Lucy a nice person who ended up doing a terrible thing, or was she just nasty all along? I mean, that's what they were debating. They didn't really debate. They didn't put any of the actual reasons. I mean, for instance, they didn't even mention the sewage issue in the hospital, which shows they had no interest in showing what the environment was like really, and what could have really caused the death of these babies. It was all about, was it a nurse or, that was, or was it a nurse? I mean, in regards of the shredder, the paper shredder.
You didn't know how to dispose of them? No. Have you previously taken any of these handover sheets home and disposed of them? No, I didn't. I have a lot of shredder, and that's how I would have to get rid of them.
This is classic technique by the police to make it, oh, well, she's a liar. She lied because she said she didn't have a shredder, and look, she's got a shredder, so she must be a murderer. Well, no. Hang on a minute. First of all, we have to think, why would she... Right, she's got handover notes at home, which technically she shouldn't have, right? But we found out since that this is quite a normal thing for nurses to bring these things home. Sometimes they might even be advised to it to refresh their memory. They might need it if they're asked about something, blah, blah, blah. Lucy might wanted to look back on them. She might even have been keeping them, thinking she might need them for evidence later on, especially after she'd been accused, but also for all sorts of reasons. So she might be thinking, well, why, what are the police asking me? Why, I'm damned if I do, because if I say I kept them, if she said I kept them because I wanted to refer to them, or because I felt that I might need them for something or something, then the police are going to start thinking that I'm bad because I shouldn't have these notes and I shouldn't be referring to them and blah, blah, blah. So she's probably going through all this in her head, and then she's thinking, well, okay, well, what's the easiest option for me to say? Well, I should have shredded them, but I didn't have a shredder, and that might have been what came into her head. Okay, so maybe technically she did know. Maybe she did lie. Maybe she did know she had a shredder. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. Whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter because it doesn't prove anything. The only thing it proves to me is that's why it's good to say no comment, because you are going to get into situations with the police where you don't want to answer their questions for all kinds of reasons, which have nothing to do with whether you're guilty of what they're accusing you of. It just means that, because people feel, especially if you're in a job with a lot of responsibility like she had, if you've done something which isn't technically what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to then immediately be on guard. Oh, why didn't I do it? And try and maybe not answer correctly, or even tell a porky. Doesn't mean you've committed the crimes, but again, the police are going to twist that and use it, which is what they do. People lie all the time about things. That's human nature. We all do it. We all lie about things, little insignificant things. And people lie to the police all the time, guilty or innocent. They lie to the police. And the police know that too. They're very aware of that. It's got no reflection on whether you're guilty or innocent. The only, someone who consistently lies, as answer to every single question, even the important questions relevant to, then that would be a flag. If you're lying to the police about absolutely everything, you're obviously trying to cover something up. But the odd lie to the police about a subject which isn't, did you kill this person or not, or did you commit this crime or not, I'm sorry, is irrelevant.
Have you previously taken any of these handover sheets home and disposed of them?
No, I didn't. I have a lot of shredder, and that's how I would have to get rid of them.
Oh, they changed the viewpoint and sort of zoom out, so you're looking at it from Hugh's point of view, rather than closer in suddenly there. So how can we be sure that that was that statement that Lucy made about the shredder was what happened straight after what she said before? So why have they suddenly changed the viewpoint or moved out or cut? There was no need to there, really, other than to show the time on the video exactly, but then they cut to show Paul Hughes. So why did they have to do that? On what they claim is an important piece of information there, why didn't they keep that film going steadily? Again, we don't know, but either way it doesn't matter, because even if she did say, she didn't have a shredder and she was lying, so what? It doesn't mean anything. But they're dangerous idiots as well, because they're easily manipulated and easily bribed and easily... Anyway, yeah, I can't think of anything else on the body language, but all the way through this, I've seen... But Lucy's body language to me is very real, and I looked at her very closely and very carefully, because I'm aware of my own bias towards I want her to be innocent, because I believe that she is, but I'm aware that I could be biased in that, so I looked very carefully at her to see if I could see any signs of dishonesty in her face or her body language to the police, and from what I've seen, I can't see anything. All that I could see in her was attempts to try and remember. I saw no little jerks or eye movements or anything, or little giggles or anything that would suggest that she was trying to cover anything up. Just looking down, trying to remember little things that these consultants have had clear memories of that they're going to take to their grave. What a load of bollocks! This is their everyday job, and yet they have. So they're the ones that come across as dishonest, because they're not saying, "Well, actually, I don't remember." Don't remember. Sorry, that was a few years ago. Don't remember. That's more honest, isn't it? But the idea that somebody can remember everything they did 2 or 3 years ago is utterly ludicrous, and the police, even the stupid, thick, idiotic police officers, know that. So they know that they're trying to sort of make Lucy look like a liar by saying, oh, but she's saying she doesn't remember. She should remember everything. She should be an AI bot who has it all logged in their data program, yeah. Oh, well, anyway, God, it's like ridiculous. Anyway, on a lighter note, I've done a nice little fable. It's called What Lurks Beneath, and it's based on, see what you think, how this relates to Operation Hummingbird, and I'll, hopefully it'll follow after this video.